Well, hello! Welcome back to my channel. Joshana here to talk about a few friggin' books. Not very many, but lately I've been doing about 4 books per recent wrap-up, and a bitch talks too much. So this time I technically only have 2, one of which was a novella, and then I do have 1 DNF to mention. So first up, I read an e-arc that I received from NetGalley in exchange for an honest review of a book that I actually just recently talked about in my anticipated adult releases for 2021. The book in question is Fireheart Tiger by Aliette de Bodard. And yes, this is adult fantasy. It's a novella, very short. It was under 100 pages. LGBT rep, there's a female-female romance. The main character is a princess who was sent to a different kingdom when she was younger, kind of as a ward situation. Like, you have my kid, so I have to behave kind of deal. But she is back home now. She has been back home for a minute, and now she helps her mother rule. She helps with trade, bartering, political things. Essentially, she's a diplomat for her kingdom. But in the midst of this, she comes across her first love, the princess of the kingdom that she was at when she was a child, or a teenager. And has to navigate not only her own feelings for this princess, but the power dynamics between their 2 kingdoms, and figuring out what is going to work for her kingdom as well as for her. There is a fire elemental involved in this, which is essentially the element of fire, but personified. Like it is a character. It can speak and interact in different ways. So there's that. I won't say too much about that. I enjoyed the premise of this a lot. The premise sounds amazing. And I think if it was even a longer novella, if it was, or just a shorter book, if it was 200-300 pages, I think I would have liked it better. I think that this author, I don't know if it's the author's writing style or just this idea in general, is better suited to a more fleshed out story. Because with it being so short, under 100 pages, it felt like very, very quick, way too quick. It felt insta-love-y because they just meet and they're like, oh my god, I love you. And they had known each other when they were younger, of course, and it was their first love, but like it's been years since they've seen each other, and very quickly things escalate romantically where you're just going, wait, what the fuck? And then some action happens, which again would be pretty cool if it had all been able to be more fleshed out. I just think that this story, this premise, didn't work well as a novella. It was way too short, way too quick. We couldn't get invested enough in what was happening or in the characters. So on my 1 to 10, I gave this a 5.4, which translates to 2.5 Pushinicorns. And then we have yet another book from my seasonal TBR that I have DNF'd. This one was a reread, and it is Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I read this when did I read this? 2010 is the first time I read this, and I wrote, beautifully written. And it is beautifully written. However, I just was not in the mood. It is a book where I have positive memories of it. I don't remember what happens in the book, but I have positive memories of my reading experience with it, just feeling that it was beautifully written, that the prose was elegant and beautiful, whatever. I just don't know if it's a book I actually ever want to reread. This book, the format is just text, all text. There are hardly any chapters in it, and the narrative flow of it, it's just it is flow. Flow is the way I would describe his writing style. Everything is just flowing into this and into that. And we're getting a lot of details. But yeah, I just wasn't in the mood. And I don't know if I ever will be. It's one of those things where I kind of just want to preserve my good feelings about it. So yeah, I think I got about 100 pages in. At any rate, I said, nah, I'm not going to do this. And then I read From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, book 1 of is it adult? I think it's adult. There's sexy times in it. But the main character is a teenager. At any rate, fantasy romance. I buddy read this with Vish from Books with V, and such a good time. We are actually buddy reading the second book also, and yeah, thoroughly enjoying buddy reading with her. It was a delight. Abby is the one that told us, because Abby also, as Vish and I are, is a huge Sarah J. Maas fan. And she basically said in her review of this, if you love Sarah J. Maas, you will love this book. And she was not wrong. So there are paranormal elements in this. Our main character, Poppy, or Penelope, I think is how you would pronounce her full name, is the maiden, chosen from birth, blessed by the gods. And when she turns 19, she will ascend along with a bunch of other people her age across the kingdom. Every year, people ascend, being blessed by the gods to become essentially godlike themselves and immortal. The kingdom went through a massive war about 200 years prior to the events in this book, and there is the Dark One, who's on the bad side, who created the Craven, which are bloodthirsty, used to be humans. They're essentially like zombies. And all these cities now have these giant walls up around the cities to keep the Craven out. Hardly anybody lives in the countryside. It's not safe. The Craven are out there. Small villages have smaller walls, but most people live in these larger cities to remain protected. As the maiden, there are a lot of rules and regulations that govern Poppy's behavior and who she can and cannot talk to, like be around, be in the presence of. She is supposed to be this very pristine, virginal, just goody girl that's only doing what she's told. And she struggles with this. She struggles with buying into all of these rules and regulations. She likes to push the boundaries a little bit. She lives in this castle, and she is a ward to the Duke and the Duchess. And the Duke is an ass, and he often punishes her if she doesn't behave the way that the maiden is supposed to. If one of the priestesses say, she talked back, or she didn't seem like she cared about our lessons, the Duke will punish her. Odd murders start happening in the castle where Poppy lives, and then right around this time she meets a royal guard named Hawk, who seems to know the secret desires of her heart, which is also dangerous for her. She can't be tempted, but she's tempted. So a couple things. The beginning of this was definitely a bit slower, and just slower to start. I was enjoying it. Vish and I both were really enjoying it. I mean, we were enjoying talking to each other about it, but we really enjoyed Poppy as a character, and Hawk, and Victor, who is her personal guard and a father figure, essentially. Really enjoyed these characters, getting to know them. It's a very character-driven book, and that works for us, so we had a good time with it. It was slower to start. In the world building, it was kind of weird. We talked about it, how sometimes there would be these info dumps, and we were saying very reminiscent of House of Earth and Blood, where the first 100 pages is just this house and that guy and that person and that lady over there and they're this and they're that and here's all the world, and you're just going, what the fuck, okay. But then at the same time, there were certain things that were withheld about the world that you didn't quite understand and didn't make sense, but there's reasons. Later you do realize why the author didn't just divvy up this info right away because of things in the plot, and if you read it, you'll see. Also, and I've seen Jess Owens with the book community videos, this was brought up, and I think it's a valid criticism that the diversity is perhaps not great. There are characters mentioned that are clearly not white. There are POC characters. Their skin is described as being brown, tanned skin, curly, black curly hair, etc. And one of them is Poppy's, this girl, so in this world, kids are given to the royals, essentially, to then ascend later. Like every house, every family has to give, I think it's their firstborn that they have to give to the royals, and then these kids all ascend. And this one girl was given to the royals, and her skin was described as being brown. Another character's skin was described as being tawny. Okay, a tawny brown skin. This girl who was given to the royals, she basically was assigned to be Poppy's friend. Like, just hang out with Poppy, because Poppy isn't allowed to have friends. She's not allowed to talk to basically anybody other than her personal guard and this girl. This girl's name, I laugh because when I read it, I was like, that's her name? Okay. And I actually, when Vish and I were reading the book, we just, we're talking about all these different things. We're talking about the romance and whatever. And we didn't really talk about that until later. And I was like, hey, this totally, like, in my head made me go, wait, what? Her name is Tawny. Why? That would be like naming a white character Snowy. Like, their snowy white skin, and then naming them Snowy. You know what I mean? It was just kind of a choice that I don't know was a great choice. And then she is essentially Poppy's handmaiden. She's her friend, and she has to just hang out with her all the time. They are genuinely friends, too, though. Like, they do actually enjoy each other's company, and they talk, and they hang out, and they're friends, and they share secrets, and they confide in each other. But she also has to help her, like, get dressed. And Poppy has to wear this veil all the time to, like, cover herself so people can't see the maiden. No one can put their eyes upon her except for approved people. So Tawny helps her with that and getting her veil and, like, getting ready for things and whatnot. So she is essentially there as her servant. So there's criticism that, one of the only POC characters that we really see is given to these people to be a servant to this chick. And which, like I said, is a valid criticism. Now, there are other people, tons of other kids of different races that are given to the royals, and Poppy always pushes back when other people in the book will say, oh, you're maid. She always is like, she's not my maid, because she technically isn't, but she basically is. And while, like I said, there are lots of other people of different skin colors given to the royals as well, and being servants as well, and maids and things, Tawny's the only one that we really see. She's the most, what am I trying to say? She's the one we focus on. She's the most visible one. So I can completely understand why a person of color would not be super delighted with that representation, right? So there is that to note. And there's nothing overtly racist. Like, in this world, having different skin colors isn't a thing. It's never brought up, whatever. But as a person of color reading that, I could see people feeling some kind of way about it. I really enjoyed Poppy as a character, as I said. Right from the beginning, we see kind of, she's interesting to me because she is trained to fight, which she isn't supposed to be. And this isn't spoiling anything. It's right at the start of the book, like I think in the first chapter. She's talking about how Victor has trained her to defend herself, which he's not supposed to do. So she can handle herself. She can fight with a sword. She can fight with a dagger. She can kill people with bows and arrows with very good precision and accuracy. She can do hand-to-hand combat. But then in the very beginning, you see her in a situation where potential for romance, potential for intimacy. But she's the maiden. She's virginal. She has never kissed anybody or done anything. People aren't even allowed to look at her, much less touch her, right? So it was just interesting seeing this, like, badass fighter chick who at the same time was very nervous and naive and completely inexperienced when presented with someone flirting with her and kind of being seductive toward her. She did not know what to do or what to think or feel. Her internal thoughts were very, oh my God, what is this? What is happening? I like it, but do I? Should I? I don't know. I don't know what any of this is. I just thought that was interesting because I think most of the time when we have these badass fighter chick characters, which I love. But more often than not, they're also usually more experienced sexually, more worldly, not quite so naive with things, very street smarts. You know, they have a lot of street smarts, and Poppy didn't have that. And I thought that was interesting. I like that. I thoroughly enjoyed the romance because we do have sort of the alpha male character, the very charming, handsome, heroic man that is being very flirtatious and seductive with her all the time, and kind of, you know, seeing how she'll react to his flirtations, etc. But also, it was full of mutual respect and understanding. Consent was on the page of, are you absolutely sure this is what you want to do or what you want to happen? Very, very consensual. And a lot of times with these alpha male types, even they are usually with a chick who is the badass fighter chick. And even though they know that she can handle herself, they will be so possessive, overly protective. Obviously, I understand if you love someone, you don't want them to be in danger, and you just never want them to be in danger. But when they can handle themselves, why won't you let them? And he did. And I really appreciated that. He fully supported her being able to take care of herself, expressed, you know, I care about you, I don't want you to be hurt, but here's a sword, let's go. That kind of thing. And I just loved it. Loved it. And yeah, so much shit went down at the end, towards the end. I'm not going to go into all that because I'm not going to get into spoilers here. Yeah, thoroughly good time though. Thoroughly good time. Some issues with certain things, but just fun. It's just fucking fun. It was a fun time. And I definitely second what Abby said. I'll have her review of it linked down below, but I definitely second what she said, that if you like Sarah J. Maas, high likelihood that you will like this book. I personally I like Sarah J. Maas's writing better, but it's like that same level of just fun shit, oh shit moments, oh my god, this is crazy. Like, I got emotional towards the end with some shit that went down. Great time. On my 1 to 10, I gave this a 7, which translates to 4 Pusheenacorns. There we go. Much shorter today. Thank God. My editing self in the future is going to thank me. Leave an emoji down below if you want to say hello, but don't have anything else to really say. If you do have thoughts on any of these 3 books, let me know what that would be in the comments also. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.